Hi, fourth grade. So we're going to talk about elapsed time today. So elapsed time is always tricky because there are so many components to figuring out a problem. So I want to begin with talking about three main parts to any problem involving time. So usually they start with a start time of a certain activity. A lot of times they'll give you when something begins, and you have to figure out how much time goes by, also known as elapsed time. How many times will those minute hands or hours hands lap the clock? That's elapsed time. So you, a lot of times, have to figure out the end time. We're going to start with a problem on our worksheet. It has a couple things happening with it. We're going to figure out what parts of that problem is either the start time, elapsed time, or end time. So over here, we're going to jump right in. We're going to see my worksheet here that refers to this movie showing paper. So number 1, the first showing for Beauty and the Monster is at 12 p.m. How many minutes will pass before the next showing? So it sounds to me like 12 p.m. is my start time. So I'm going to start writing down 12 p.m. I know if that's my start time and I'm given a certain amount of time that goes by, I need to figure out, like, am I adding or am I subtracting? It seems like I'm going ahead in time. So I need to figure out the total time that goes by, not over only the movie, but also how much time will pass before my next showing at 2:40. So 2:40 is going to be my end time. So I know if 2:40 is my end time, not only is my movie an hour and 50 minutes, but I also have got to figure out the time that's left between the end of the movie and 2:40. So all I really want to do is continue to add, and I'm going to start with my hours. So 1 p.m. So that's only 1 hour that has lapped the clock and gone ahead. I know I'm going to keep going another full hour. Why mess around with minutes? I'm going to keep going to 2 o'clock. So how much time has gone by? 2 whole hours. But I still have to get to that final end time of 2:40. So I know now I have 2 hours. Now I just have to go and talk about my minutes to see when I get to 2:40. There's 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. So I've made it to my end time of 2 hours and 40 minutes. As I was moving along the clock, I knew I at least added 2 whole hours. I knew that was 2 o'clock. And then I added my 40 minutes to get to the end time of 2:40. Okay, so I need to figure out the total amount of time in minutes. So I really know 60 minutes equals an hour. So I know 60 plus 60 is 120. It's the same exact thing. We're just putting this in total minutes. 120 minutes, and then I added my last little bit of minutes here. So I had 160 total minutes. So that was one of the harder ones. You could have done it a couple different ways. I just took the original start time of the movie, how much time went by to get to my end time, and I broke that time up with hours and adding those first and then my minutes. Okay, so that's probably the best tip that I could tell you, figuring out those parts of the problem first and then really adding by hours first and then seeing how many minutes would go to get you to your end time. I'm going to do one more problem, the trickier one. So we're going to show you how to go backwards in time. So now we're going to look at number 5. If it takes 16 minutes to get to the movie theater, at what time do you need to leave in order to get to the movie theater by 5 p.m. to see Toy Tale? So I see up here 5 p.m. is my showing, so I'm actually going backwards in time. So they're actually giving me my end time first of 5 p.m. And I've got to go backwards in time, so that's almost like subtracting my 16 minutes. That's how long it takes to drive. I need to go behind that, before that, to see what time I need to leave my house. This really is my end time of 5 o'clock. That's really what time I've got to be at the theater. So I'm going to go backwards in time. I'm going to go backwards 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and remember it was 16, so I'm just going to count by that leftover 1 minute. So that right there is going to be what time I have to leave my house. So if I start with the hour of 4 minutes, or sorry, the hour of 4 o'clock, I know to read that clock, it'd be 4 o'clock. If my minute hand was here, 4 o'clock, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and then those 4 extra minutes. So it's really 4:44 of what I would have to leave my house. That's 16 minutes before 5 o'clock. So keep that in mind. We just answered this first part. This last part talks to you about what time I will get home. So that's tricky, where you have to take that 5 o'clock start time. That's now really my start time of the movie. So see how in one problem your 3 parts can change? So now 5 o'clock is when the movie starts. And I know over here it's an hour and 58 minutes long. So I know I would actually take that elapsed time and add that. Looks just like time, but I know it's an hour and 58 minutes. So now I know I need to add like normal. The time that it would end would be 6:58. But I have to account for those 16 minutes back home. So we're going to show you how to do this without a clock in case you don't have one. So if 6:58 is now the time that my movie ends, I really need to figure out adding my 16 minutes to that. So I'm almost saying that 6:58 is now that start time. Why? Because now I have to have that 16 minutes that goes by to figure out what time do I get home. That's now my new question. What time do I get home is my end time. So I know that to get to a whole hour, I've got 16 minutes to add. To get to a whole hour, I'm going to take those 2 minutes. I'm going to add 2 minutes just like that. I know that's a nice even 7 o'clock. But I still know if I use those 2 minutes out of my time that it's taking to get home, I know that I still have 14 minutes left. So now I'm going to take those 14 minutes to finish up my total elapsed time. So I should get home at 7:14 p.m. So if that's a good way to show you on pencil paper how to break up that elapsed time to get to a whole hour, I would suggest doing that. Okay, so try your best taking a look at both of those worksheets that I posted, using those Showtimes, and answering how much time will go by. Good luck with your elapsed time.